Hi, hey, hello, and welcome to another very special episode of a Colts podcast. My name's Brandon, and I'm joined here by your co-host, my best friend, Andrew Moore. My kind sir, how are you doing?
We're going on a little late tonight, given the late night Colts talk. But hey, man, I'm doing good. I'm ready to put the Rams loss behind us. Now it's time to focus on the Titans. It's a huge divisional matchup, and I think you'll agree with me on this one that down the line, this very game could have playoff implications, and we're only in week 3. So
has the last couple years.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting matchup. A lot of storylines to talk about, not only on the Colts side, but on the Titans side of the ball as well. It's going to be a fun matchup.
Yes, sir. And real quick, don't forget to go follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at a Colts Podcast, brought to you by Sports Illustrated. Ever heard of them? Facebook, a Colts Podcast. Andrew, I don't want to take too long in this intro because we do have a special guest from the Titans Time podcast on the Pigskin Podcast Network. Tyler, thanks for joining us, buddy. We're excited to talk about this game this weekend. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on, and glad to get on here and talk about just this big divisional game that we have coming up, because like you mentioned, this game there could be a lot riding on it already, and it's only week 3.
Yeah, and you think maybe with a longer season that maybe games this early won't, and I just keep telling myself if it were last year, we're 0-1, and hoping that makes me feel better about what's going on. But yeah, games this early can, when it's against a divisional opponent, definitely can have a big impact. So this weekend, Colts and the Titans are playing. Colts are at plus 215, Titans minus 265, spreads at 5.5, over under 48. And I texted Andrew, I think it was at 6.5 the other day. I was like 6.5. I mean, what is going on here? And I just completely spaced the fact that Jacob Eason's probably starting this Sunday. So I'm not telling people to jump quite on, on that spread just now. But I mean, that's right where we're going to start off. Do the Colts have a chance with Jacob Eason? Do the Colts have a chance to win with Jacob Eason if Carson Wentz can't go? Let's start with you, Tyler. What is your don't give me a prediction, okay? But do you think the Colts have a chance? We'll get to predictions, but do you think the Colts have a chance with Jacob Eason? Maybe even with him in, is there a chance we could expose maybe the Titans' biggest weakness on defense?
Man, that's tough because I have seen enough over the past couple of weeks of like Wentz in there, and Wentz was moving the ball for y'all, even if it came to check downs, things like that, or even using his legs to extend plays. And whenever Eason come in for y'all, I know y'all are like we were with the Cardinals, y'all are wanting to get past the Rams talk, but
right.
The drive where he come in, I was wanting to see a little bit there and see if he could get out there with this offense and get it clicking, which, you get thrown into it in a game situation. That's kind of a tall order there. So,
yeah,
I mean, if I had to guess for sure, Wentz isn't going to play. Eason will. He's probably getting all the first team reps right now. If he can get some chemistry down, I'm not going to rule him out completely, because the Titans have went against backup quarterbacks before. I'm thinking back to a couple years ago when y'all come in with Jacoby Brissett, and we were thinking, nothing to worry about. Andrew Luck's terrorized us enough. Well, we have a chance now, and y'all still beat us down. So, I think all around y'all's team is good enough that if the right game plan is in place and it can actually be executed, there's definitely that chance that the Colts can find a way to win it.
Yeah, I wouldn't count Frank Reich out of anything, and we did see Jacob Eason take a lot of first team reps over the summer with Carson Wentz, missing quite a bit of time with injury and COVID issues and whatnot. Andrew, you've seen Eason in person. What do you think? I've seen him in person too, just not after he had a week long of first team reps.
Right. It's going to be tough. I mean, honestly, right now, what Frank Reich said today is while Carson Wentz isn't being ruled out, they're going forward assuming that he's not playing on Sunday. Jacob Eason is getting all the first team reps. They are planning the game plan around Jacob Eason and his strengths. So it's going to be a lot less mobility because Carson Wentz can really move around. Jacob Eason, while he's not a statue in the pocket, he's certainly not Carson Wentz. So we're going to have to watch that. And then I don't really know if last week was a good gauge because, I mean, you come into the game to lead a 2-minute drill after sitting the entire game. It's like, all right, go win this the game. That's going to be tough for any quarterback, especially a quarterback who's literally getting his first snaps in the NFL. You can kind of expect that that's not really going to go well, especially against a defense like the Rams. But a little update on Wentz's injury. I mean, on Monday he wasn't looking good, but over these last 48 hours, it has healed up some. He did start out in a boot. He's not in a boot anymore. The beat writers down in Indy were saying he really didn't have a limp either. The biggest thing is just with these ankle sprains, it's going to be managing that swelling because not only does he have the high ankle sprain on his right, he has that moderate ankle sprain on his left. So, and he said he's played through sprained ankles multiple times in his career, but he damn near almost broke that ankle and twisting it all around. That was nasty. So it's going to be tough for him to be able to play. And if Jacob Eason goes out there, I think it's not going to be the Jacob Eason show. It's going to be, again, the Colts need to rely on their strengths. The offensive line absolutely has to get going. Jonathan Taylor, Nyheim Hines, Marlon Mack, the three-headed monster in the backfield, that's what they're going to have to rely on because Jacob Eason, if we're putting it all on Eason to win the game, the Colts aren't going to do it.
Here's the reality. Jacob Eason is about the same size as Carson Wentz, less athletic, less accurate, doesn't know how to handle the offense just quite as well. But he did show some good stuff in camp. He's got chemistry with the first-team receivers. And Frank Reich, pretty damn good game planner. So my say would be yes, there is a chance. I'm not super confident with Eason in, but we do have a chance. Are we speaking of the people around him helping him out? A big part of that, like you said, Andrew, is going to be the run game. While we're moving on to the offensive line talk first, let me ask this. I haven't watched any Titans football yet. I think I might be the only person in America to bet on the Cardinals, other than Cardinals fans. But what about, how's their run defense look? Because our offenses look bad.
The Titans' run defense, it really depends on if Teair Tart is in the game. I've seen a stat that one of the reporters covering the Titans put out. I can't remember exactly which one it was, but whenever Tart is in the game, their defense is allowing, roughly like 3 yards per carry. But if Tart is out of the game, it's up closer to, it's up closer to like 5.5 yards per carry. So, Tart is kind of that big body in there for us that's slowing some things down. And, really looking at the running backs we've faced, not taking anything away from like Edmonds or Chris Carson, but y'all have some backs in there that are, I would probably already rank them above, Jonathan Taylor just going into his second year. I think his run style and everything, he can cause more trouble than those guys can. I feel like we've done a decent job against the Seahawks and their run game, but I think the biggest difference will be how well y'all's offensive line plays.
Right. Not good so far. Good news for you. Not great so far.
We've had our struggles with our offensive line, and coming out of the off season, that was one thing that we definitely gave the Colts as far as props is, y'all's offensive line is one that it's one of the better ones in the league.
Yeah.
At least on paper, looking at the first couple of games and how much pressure, they've allowed. And I'm trying to, I don't know how good the run game has been going for y'all. But I think it'll be a good matchup. And right quick, when I hit back on, y'all talking about Eason and not being as athletic as Wentz, like our pass rush as far as getting after the quarterback, last year it was just I don't even want to talk about it.
Yeah, it was not good. I recall.
Our secondary had to try and cover guys for so long that it's no wonder quarterbacks were able to stand back there and just find openings. But this year, that seems to be a little bit different. And we faced 2 mobile quarterbacks in the first 2 weeks, and still been getting pressure. And whether if Wentz were to somehow play, depending on how well that ankle is,
shouldn't be as mobile.
Yeah, he's not going to be as mobile. And I told my brother on one of our reviews after seeing our pass rush, if there's a quarterback back there that can't escape the pocket and run, then I think we can actually get to him this year. Like I like our chances more.
Yeah, that's what I liked about Matt Stafford this past weekend. I was like, hey, we were almost getting Russell Wilson, right? So we should be able to get Matt Stafford. Guess what? I was wrong somehow. But yeah, something's going on with the offensive lines in the league. I think the good ones, all these players that are supposed to be playing great are getting blown up. I mean, we've had that issue. Taylor Lewan, I saw get murdered last weekend. I mean, what's going on? You know what I mean? Something's going on with the offensive lines in the league. Andrew, offensive line must do what this week to be better against the Titans?
It's pretty simple. Just play better. Just play as a more cohesive unit. I mean, besides Quentin Nelson and Eric Fisher came back off an Achilles and played well. Played better than everybody but Quentin Nelson last week. I mean, Ryan Kelly, you've got a Pro Bowl center in there. He's been pretty bad. I mean, Mark Lewinsky hasn't done anything, and then Julian Davenport. I mean, I don't even know how he made the team at this point. So, I mean, I'm just being honest. This isn't the standard that this Colts offensive line usually goes at, and they know it. Quentin Nelson after the game on Sunday said it's inexcusable how we're playing, and he's absolutely correct. When you have guys like Quentin Nelson, Ryan Kelly, Eric Fisher, and Braden Smith when he's healthy, that's a top 3 offensive line in this league. And Carson Wentz came to Indianapolis because of the offensive line, because he was going to have more support. And so far they haven't been holding up their end of the
now he's hurt.
And now he's hurt because of it. So yes, I think that the Colts offensive line eventually it's going to come to fruition that they're going to get back to where they should be. I'm still not panicking yet over this Colts offensive line, but if there's any week that we would like to see it start happening and start showing that they can rebound and be a top 3 offensive line in the league again, it's this week against Tennessee because.
Go ahead.
I know you don't want to see that, Tyler, because hey, we haven't even really talked about it, but there's going to be a mad Danico Autry on the other side of the ball.
There it is. See, Andrew just keeps talking long enough that he just gets these points that I have. Go ahead.
Danico Autry is going to be very determined to try and go get whoever is lining up at quarterback for the Colts and really show that the Colts made a mistake in letting him go. And I think he had a sack and a half last week. So Danico Autry is playing pretty well over there in Tennessee. We'll have to see what he does on Sunday, but Colts offensive line, again, it needs to step up if the Colts want to win against a good team like Tennessee.
Yeah, and we've got a question for the Titans Time podcast here for Tyler, but I'm going to bring that up closer to the prediction, so don't let me forget. Derrick Henry. Okay, I don't know if you saw, Andrew, but Julian Blackmon today gave a hell of an interview talking about tackling Derrick Henry. He said, I don't know, but we have to. We got to go tackle Derrick Henry. They haven't been tackling anybody right now, and they're going against the hardest guy to tackle in the league this weekend. Andrew, you go first. How are we going to contain Derrick Henry? I mean, for me, it starts with tackling, and it's not easy.
It does start with tackling. It's something that the Colts have struggled with early in the season. The guys that are usually sure tacklers have missed them, particularly Kenny Moore. And I know Kenny Moore is very hard on himself, but that's something that definitely needs to change this week. And I think it will. I think Matt Eberflus and this Colts defense, that's really what they're going to focus on this week. See, DeForest Buckner talked about it too. They really need to focus on their technique with tackling. Matt Eberflus always preaches the hamstring tackle, which is exactly what they're going to try to do. And I think another person or player that's going to have a big impact is DeForest Buckner. I mean, you remember in that first game last year against the Titans, DeForest Buckner played. Grover Stewart, who had a really good game in that first game, and while Derrick Henry had 103 yards, the Colts didn't allow him to get a touchdown and didn't allow him to take over the game, and the Colts had success. Then that second meeting in Indianapolis, Derrick Henry goes for 182 yards and 3 touchdowns, with DeForest Buckner had to miss because of COVID, and it just completely dominated Indianapolis. So DeForest Buckner will be there. Grover Stewart needs to kind of bounce back to a slow start to his season and be in there. But yeah, it's going to be all about tackling and making sure you have all 11 guys flying to the ball and containing Derrick Henry, because I still think he's going to get his. I really do. It's not like we're going to keep Derrick Henry to 30 yards on 15 carries. He's probably going to get between 90 and 110 yards, I would assume. But I think if you keep him between 90 and 110 and kind of put the onus on Ryan Tannehill, that's a good game plan to have, and the best shot at a win that the Colts defense can put forth.
I'd be happy if Jonathan Taylor had 110 yards this week. Nobody's even sniffed 100 for our running backs, but Titans. Tyler, we kind of touched on your offensive line. I mean, Derrick Henry kind of took over the second half of the game this past weekend, if I remember correctly. Was that just pure Derrick Henry, or is the offensive line giving him some help?
Our offensive line overall, I feel like, played better against Seattle. Against the Cardinals, it was just it was terrible. I went back and rewatched that game, and I was asking myself, why am I putting myself through this? Because just blocks that. And it was maybe just technique that the Cardinals guys were using, but Derrick Henry just didn't have any room to do anything. I mean, it seemed like every carry there was already a guy 2 yards in the backfield ready to hit him.
Yeah.
And Derrick Henry is one of those backs where
he's got to get going.
You let him get those 2-3 steps going, really that third step, that's when he's fixing to make, that's when you have to watch him more. But if you can catch him before he even gets his second step done with the ball, he's not really going yet. And, last week we had Taylor Lewan, who kind of re-aggravated his knee before the Seattle game, so he was out. Roger Saffold ended up kind of going in and out of the game. He wasn't in at the end of the game, I think he had an ankle injury, but you look back at last year, our line, we had so many guys, especially after Lewan went down in week 5, that we were subbing in and out, and it was just finding guys that could get in there at the time to be a replacement and actually do their job. I mean, that's what it comes down to, even with y'all's offensive line. Guys just gotta do their job.
Yeah.
And you mentioned DeForest Buckner. Me personally, I want Henry to have a good game when Buckner's there, just because, looking back at that second game last year, that's the main thing, is Buckner wasn't there. So, clogging up the middle. And I'm trying to remember, you said it was Blackman that was talking today, right?
Blackman, yeah. And don't get me wrong, somebody was saying he was talking smack. He was just saying, no, we got to go out there and do our job.
I watched that video, and watching it, I respect his attitude for that, because, I don't think it was like Earl Thomas a couple years ago where, he was basically talking smack and like, and then Derrick Henry got into open field and seen him and turned him into his own personal blocker. Like,
that's literally I literally saw a comment that said that exact thing, like on that tweet, like a response. That's funny. Sorry.
So I'm like, okay, he's giving Henry his respect. He knows what they have to do. And I mean, he laid it out. There's very few guys in this league that one-on-one can take Henry down.
Right.
Especially when he gets that head of steam.
Yep.
But if you get 2 or 3 guys hitting him at the same time, it's easier to bring him down. And if I think if Henry's able to get outside and stay away from the middle of that line, like I said, I hadn't got to watch much of the Colts, but if they've had trouble tackling, if he gets outside and is able to get to that second and third level, it may be a long day. But the main thing I'm going to say, y'all mentioned him getting his, like having 90 to probably 110 yards. For us, for Titans fans sitting back, we're like, okay, that's a decent game for Henry. That's nothing crazy. Yeah. But the main thing is watching out for that explosive play. Because by the time the fourth quarter rolls around, you can talk about your game plan. Yeah, you can talk about your game plan of wanting to tackle him, but when the fourth quarter gets there, you don't want to tackle him anymore because he just keeps coming.
That's why he's so good late in the year, too. When it's so cold, nobody wants to tackle that dude. I don't want to tackle that dude. I don't know why people can't knock him out of bounds more often. He's always on the sideline. I don't understand why nobody gives him a good – that stiff arm's too good.
He gets that big arm out there, and there's nothing
crazy.
If he gets his hand on you, it's done. Just like I felt like Diggs for Seattle. Yeah. He had the right game plan. Okay, I'm going to get behind him and just try and trip up his ankles. But he made the mistake of staying within arm's reach, and Henry just kind of dribbled him like a basketball off the ground.
It's terrible.
And Tyler, you brought up a really good point about Henry kind of bouncing it outside, and if they can, that's probably where they might have the best success. And it's kind of that's exactly what the Seahawks and the Rams have done in the first two games. Chris Carson was bouncing it outside, and instead of going right in the middle at DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart, he was bouncing it outside, and that's where you'd start to see those bigger and more productive runs. The same thing with Darrell Henderson last week when the Colts played the Rams. He would bounce it outside, and that's when you would see him pick up some yardage. So if Derrick Henry and the Titans can get outside of those two massive tackles in the middle, I think that's the best way that they can have success.
All right, guys. Listen, last 2 weeks, the Colts have had to play some real good wide receivers. Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf. This past week, we've had to deal with Cooper Kupp, risen from the dead. Robert Woods, also had a good game. Cooper Kupp played out of his mind. I'm telling you what, I think A.J. Brown is fantastic. I don't think they should have let Corey Davis go, but I mean, replace him with Julio Jones for more money. Sure, that works, I guess, but he's incredible. Julio Jones is a guy I've for years. Like I'll keep taking him. I don't care if he scores a touchdown. I'll keep taking him in fantasy because he still racks up the receptions and the yards. Seems like he just always gets tackled on the two. So yeah, I mean, how's this new offensive coordinator, Todd Downing, adjusting and using the new wide receivers?
The game against Seattle, I feel like we see more of what we needed to see. The game plan against the Cardinals, it sucked. I mean, I was there in the stands, and you could pretty much tell what was coming when. Mm-hmm. It was way too predictable. And he started switching it up more because, like I said, with the Cardinals, it seemed like every drive we had on first down, it was going to be a run with Henry.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look back at the Seattle game, and while, yes, we did still have drives where the very first, on first down, we would run with Henry, mm-hmm. He started mixing in some passes, and there were a couple times A.J. Brown just – Tannehill put it right on him where it needed to be, and he just had one of those games where he wasn't catching the ball well, and it would have been big gains on first down. So I feel like with this offense yet, we haven't seen kind of our three-headed monster of Henry, Jones, and Brown all clicking at the same time. And if we start seeing that, that's when it's going to get really tough for teams because, we kind of preached all off season. You're going to have to pick your poison. Like who do you stop? And I mentioned, the Colts of being a team that could be one of those teams that could have enough players on their defense to stop that because with Buckner in the middle of your defensive line, he's a guy that can, contain Henry.
Mhm.
if the Titans are trying to go up the middle.
Mhm.
And, at the time, I think Rhodes was healthy. So, you could put him on AJ or Julio.
Yep.
And then maybe shade over the other side. Is Rhodes going to be playing, or is he still going to be out with that calf
I hope
injury?
so. I hope so.
Rhodes today. He's supposed to practice this week. Today he still sat out. But Frank Reich said he's expected to practice this week. He also said that last week. So this calf injury is very, very tricky, it seems,
Right.
and they're not exactly sure when he's really going to be able to play. I certainly hope so, but we'll still wait and see on Xavier Rhodes for this week,
because that was going to be a question I had for y'all. Is obviously the game plan for every team is stop Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
But when you have A.J. Brown and Julio Jones on the outside, your best corner is out. Say he is out. How are you going to contain those two guys?
I think really what the Colts are going to have to do is just play a lot of cover two, where you keep the two safeties deep. Don't let anything over the top, because that's what's going to kill them. And that's what's something that the Colts have been giving up this year, is quite a bit of big plays. So you keep Blackman and Willis deep. You kind of force everything in front of you. And have Kenny Moore kind of roaming there, Darius Leonard over the middle, Bobby Okereke. Those linebackers need to step up. And then really the guy that we were kind of most worried about, it was Rock Ya-Sin to start the year, and he really hasn't played too bad.
Yeah.
He hasn't been great, but
he hasn't had a pass interference yet either, has he?
He hasn't had a pass interference, but he's been good enough to play. So if Xavier Rhodes comes back, I do think that's going to be quite a bit a burst for this defensive and the secondary, because TJ Carey has not been good. He really hasn't. He's the one that's been giving up all the yards and all the completions, besides Kenny Moore, which is you just don't see that from Kenny Moore. So if Kenny Moore can bounce back, which I think he has a chance to this week, and if Xavier Rhodes can play, I think if the Colts do a lot of cover two and maybe not use as much cover three with a single high safety, then you can limit those big plays and kind of force Tannehill to kind of work his way down the field.
Right.
Quick question for you, Tyler. We'll keep this one quick because we still got a couple more questions to get through, and we're going to let you go. Colts loyalists, 5678. How would you compare your secondary this year to last year?
Our secondary this year, I would take them 10 times out of 10 over our secondary last year. I mean, yes, they've still given up some big plays, just our defense as a whole, but part of that goes back to, like week one, Kyler Murray just being outstanding and finding a way to make plays. And, Seahawks, we had some blown coverage and some guys back there that I think were just bad matchups that we shouldn't have had.
Sure.
But our corners, Christian Fulton, he's been playing really good. I mean, we had him matched up most of the time against DK Metcalf last week, and he really got in Metcalf's head.
DK didn't do much to us either. It was Tyler Lockett.
Cornerback. Yeah. Yeah. Well, believe me, Tyler Lockett burned us too. So, but at least it's good to see that our corners can come up and make a tackle if the quarterback gets it out to the wide receiver in the flats, because one game that stands out to me is like the game against Green Bay last year. Adoree Jackson finally come back. Rodgers hit Adams just out in the flats, and no one can make a tackle on him to keep him from getting in the end zone. So, like I said, I would take this secondary 10 times out of 10 over last year's.
All right, Tyler, your X factor for the game. What's most important for the Titans to make sure they win?
Most important for them, I think, if Eason does end up starting, I think the most important thing for the Titans is going to be stopping y'all's run game, because I feel like that's going to be the game plan. Take pressure off of him by, running the ball like crazy, getting that going, and then setting up play action, making the defense have to come up to respect the run game, and then burning them over the top. So I say stop the run game and make Eason beat you.
Right. Andrew?
Yeah, I think as far as the defensive side of the ball for the Titans, that's a great answer, because I mean, if like I said before, if the Colts have to rely on Easton to win this game, I don't think it's going to go very well. So I'm going to kind of go the opposite side. I'm going to go kind of on the defensive side of the ball for the Colts. We talked about how big DeForest Buckner is going to have an impact, and this is kind of giving a little hint to my article that's coming out till tomorrow. But my X factor is Grover Stewart. It really is, because when you think about it, DeForest Buckner, we all talk about DeForest Buckner. We know what he's going to bring. One of the best defensive tackles in the entire league. The Titans are really going to focus in on DeForest Buckner and make sure that he doesn't wreck the game. This gives Grover Stewart that opportunity. Grover Stewart is a big guy. He's 6'4", 320 pounds. He's a big guy. And if he's matched up one-on-one, he's going to need to take advantage of that. I mean, Grover Stewart, before the year started, said he had Pro Bowl aspirations. And to start this season, he has 8 tackles total, no sacks. I don't know if he even has a quarterback pressure. And at times it seems like he's been invisible, except when he was making plays in the secondary and almost got an interception last week. But I think if Grover Stewart is in there and can have a big impact, because that first game against Tennessee last year, a play sticks out to me where it was close to the goal line. Derrick Henry was running a sweep to the outside. Grover Stewart ran him down and threw him down like Derrick Henry was a small running back. So I think Grover Stewart needs to be that physical monster of a presence inside. So that way, if the Titans do focus in on Buckner, it allows him to go and eat as well.
Great comment. Hopefully he's not dropping back into coverage this week. Yeah, I hope not too. My X factor, until he has a good game, I might just ride Frank Reich X Factor every week until he has a good game, because he hasn't had a good game yet this year. And usually, and even Andrew will agree with me on that, he usually is, he takes Frank's side and picks on me and tells me, this and that, about why I'm wrong. And I'm not even, I love Frank Reich. I'm not even on him that often, but Andrew, I feel like, is always on his side. And so far this year, not impressed with some decisions and play calling. But I mean, if I try to do a quick one off of Frank Reich, the defense is the only way we're going to win this football game. We got to win the turnover battle somehow, just to try to hold them at bay. So I guess the defense turnover battle. All right. And going into your prediction, Tyler, Sam asks, is the Titan team, who is this Titan team? Basically, the team that got beat 38-13 at home to the Cardinals, or the team that came back from 2 scores down in Seattle to win an OT? And then give your prediction.
A great answer to that is watching their inside the locker room after they come back against Seattle, and that really shows who this team is. Vrabel talking to them, and then Henry coming out this year as that vocal leader. Something that sticks out to me is when they were getting beat down by the Cardinals, Henry is over on the sidelines. I mean, chewing into the offense, something you don't normally see from him on the sidelines. I honestly believe that opening game against the Cardinals was just, we weren't ready.
Sure.
The game plan was not good coming into it. I think we're that team that come back and beat Seattle in overtime. That second half is the team that we are.
Okay. So what's your prediction?
My prediction, I said this on one of my buddy's shows earlier this week. I think the Titans do end up winning this game. And I think if Eason's starting, I think they'll end up winning it 31-17. That's kind of the numbers that came to mind for me.
That hurts.
Well, you had to know where I was going.
No, I knew where it was going.
After y'all give y'all's predictions, I do have one question for y'all too.
Sure. All right, Andrew, your prediction.
All right, I'm going to give 2 just because it's difficult. So if Eason starts, I'm going to go Titans 27, Colts 17. If Wentz starts, I'm going to go Titans 24, Colts 20, Colts 20, Colts 27. So if Wentz starts, I think the Colts end up getting the dub. But if Eason starts, I think unless Jonathan Taylor goes off for close to 200 yards and this offensive line and defense kind of be elite again, I think it will fall on Eason and he'll end up unfortunately fall short.
Colts by 1 million. New horn. I like that. No, I don't think the Colts stand a chance to win this game. If Jacob Eason starts, I don't think it'll be. I think our defense is going to finally wake up this week, especially because they know that they are going to have just an absolute monster coming after them. So you got to be ready to go going against a guy like Derrick Henry. So I think the defense steps up, but I still think the Titans pull it off probably somewhere around 20, 21 to 15, 14, somewhere in that neighborhood. I just don't think Eason's going to be able to put up a lot of numbers. I don't think Carson Wentz is going to play, and if he does, I don't think he's going to be super mobile. Andrew's favorite beat writer said something a little different from what Andrew said earlier, and said that you could barely see a limp, which indicates to me that there is a limp, not, can't even see one at all. So, I don't think we win. I think, but you know what? 0-3, like I said, not as bad as 0-3 was last year. We have time. And good news, the following week, Miami, not looking great right now either. So we might have a chance even with Eason, which I doubt we'd have to start in 2 weeks in a row. Tyler, your question for us, bud.
I was going to ask, what team do you feel like there's more pressure on this week? Like you said, it's a long season. So 0-3 this year's like 0-2 last year.
Sure.
But, I was watching A to Z Sports here in Nashville, and they were giving stats for the Titans about how if they started 0-2, there was like a 6% chance of winning the division and making it to the playoffs. And then if they started, if you start 0-3, it goes down even more. But by the Titans getting up to 1-1 coming into this week, that raises their chances to like 24%.
Yeah.
We haven't beat the Colts at home since 2017. Y'all are
Correct.
coming in.
I was there.
Y'all may not have Wentz, but that still doesn't mean that we can just overlook y'all because it's the NFL. And unless you're the Jaguars or the Texans, you really can't be overlooked. And even the Texans this year somehow are hanging on. But who's more pressure on? Is it the Colts not to go 0-3, or is it the Titans to dig this hole for the Colts and give them this 0-3 start?
I'll go first. I think there's more pressure on the Colts. I don't think either one of these teams are in trouble long term. I don't think the Titans are going to hold on to a divisional lead, so I think that's good news for both of us.
You mean the Texans? You said that you don't think the Titans are going to hold on to the divisional lead.
Yeah. I'm sitting here looking at all this guy's stuff. The Texans. I'm sorry. I don't think the Texans will hang on. So I think it's on the Colts, though, and not just because of the 0-3 number. I think it's because, for some reason, the national media is blaming everything on Carson Wentz. I think Frank Reich is going to be under a lot of pressure if we go 0-3, but now we got this hard knock shit coming into town in the middle of the season, and we got that to worry about, too. I just think that the problem is that the pressure – if there's not an expectation of a win, is there really any pressure? I don't see any pressure on the Titans personally, but nobody expects the Colts to win. So maybe there's not pressure, but when it comes to what that team feels and knows they should be doing, I think they're feeling a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I think there's more pressure on the Colts as well, because when you start out 0-3, there is an extra game, but 0-3 is still 0-3.
Yep.
And it's hard to go the rest of the way because you're probably looking at 10-7 as the minimum for a team to make the playoffs. That means you have to go the rest of the way. You have to go what? After 3, 13 or 10-4 the rest of the way. So that's tough. So I definitely think the Colts, is more pressure, especially with all the injuries that are still piling up. Braden Smith's not back, Xavier Rhodes, Carson Wentz is going through, hit 2 ankles now. I think if the Colts don't want to let the Titans get too far ahead, because I think the Colts know that that's going to be their main competition for the division. So to let them get another game up on them, plus a divisional game where the Colts need all that they can get as far as tiebreakers, I definitely think the Colts have more pressure going into this game.
For sure.
Yeah, that was, like I said, that was something I was just curious about, because you can kind of make the argument for both sides, in my opinion, because like I said, with the Titans, you have a team that's, the Colts, even though they've been in these games, they're coming in probably with their backup quarterback.
Yep.
You have a chance to really, as of early season, put your foot on their throat a little bit early and take this division lead. Because like you said, I don't see the Texans holding on to the lead in the division. But, you can kind of put them down and out. Like you mentioned, you have Miami after us. And with the whole situation with Tua and everything else, I don't know how well, how good they'll be. But who do y'all have after that? Because I know
Baltimore in Baltimore.
So see, that's another tough game. And
yeah, we've got a tough start.
Both of our teams have 2 more NFC West teams to go against. And I mean, that's
the best division of football.
That's the best division. Like you said, I think everyone has that opinion. All 4 of those teams are really good.
Yep. Sure are. All right. Hey, Tyler, the Titans Time Podcast, Pigskin Podcast Network. We appreciate you coming on, man. Hopefully it's a good game this weekend. Whoever wins, hopefully it's the Colts. I'd love to be surprised this weekend, but I hope it's good, and hope you guys enjoy it too, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. And hey, I'm hoping it's a win. I have yet to get to experience a win in Nissan Stadium. I'm going to be there. I need this win, guys.
Oh, that's tough. That's tough. All righty, man. Have a good one. Thank you.
Take it easy, Tyler.
See y'all.
What a guy. I like having a little Southern twang in our show. Andrew?
He provided great insight. I mean,
he knows his stuff.
Yeah, we know the Titans because we face them every year.
Yeah.
But it's great to get a guy that follows the team, and just like us, he bleeds Titan blue. We bleed Colts blue, and he really gave us insight on what the team, because there are so many new parts to the Titans this year. Gave us insight on what those pieces are, how they're performing, and what the Titans fan base is expecting out of them. So I think it'll be a good game. It's always a good game when the Colts play the Titans. So it's going to be a fun one on Sunday. All
right, Andrew. We find ourselves in another time crunch, but let's keep chugging along. Injuries, considering you did not list any of them or put the picture in like you normally do, I'll go ahead and let you go through the injuries real fast.
Well, I did put the picture in, so I'm not sure what's wrong with your notes, but hey, it's on there. So
shit's not loading.
So today, Jordan Glasgow entered the concussion protocol after the game, so he missed today's practice. Zach Pascal missed today as well with a non-COVID related illness, so nothing to worry about there. Guys that were still out, like I mentioned, Xavier Rhodes with a calf, Braden Smith with his foot injury. The Colts are saying now it's a strain in his foot. That's really all we found out. Carson Wentz didn't participate. Pretty obvious.
Carson Wentz is not playing.
So, I mean, as of right now, I'd say it's probably 80-20. Carson Wentz does not play.
Here's this. I saw somebody say on Twitter, and I see stuff all the time, and that doesn't mean I think everybody on Twitter's smart, but this, I find the stuff that I find intriguing. If Braden Smith is out, do you just say, Carson, you're out too? Stop abusing the man.
I mean, you could have an argument for that, but I don't think that would go over well with this team. I think especially Carson Wentz, he wants to be out there no matter what. So
I know. I'm just telling you, man. He came to this team because he's not supposed to be getting beat up like that. Sorry, there's more comments going on in there, and Titans Time hung out, and he's in the comments talking, but they're just going at it. Is this what it's like having This is crazy. I don't even know what I was talking about. It's just I don't want to watch him get beat up anymore. It's flashbacks. You know what I mean? It's hard to watch. And it was hard to watch in person too. And your boy Zach Hicks dropped a piece of film today that I think it was Pascal just screaming down the middle of the field wide open. And Carson Wentz gets sacked. If he would have had 2 more seconds, it's a touchdown.
Well, you can see Carson Wentz sees him and he loads up. He cocks that right arm back. And if Ryan Kelly holds up for literally 1 more second, that's like a 70-yard touchdown. And then to round out the injuries, Paris Campbell came back and was limited today with his abdomen injury. So hopefully he's fully healthy for Sunday.
Monday Night Football, Andrew. I love the Manning broadcast. I just do. Listen, he wakes up, he pisses excellence. You know what I mean? My man in blue. Eli's awesome. I can't believe how much I like Eli on there. He doesn't talk as much as Peyton, but when he does, you should listen. You know what I mean? It's worth listening to. Packers started out slow, but still end up winning 35-17. Second half, they just kind of took off. I went to bed. I was just dying waiting for Pat McAfee to come on at first. And I was like, oh, he's going to be in the fourth quarter. This sucks. Paige was like, hey, I bet he's in the fourth quarter. I'm like, yeah, I know.
Yeah, he was in the whole fourth quarter, but hey, it was great seeing him interact with the Manning brothers. So
yeah,
Packers did start out. I mean, they had the ball 3 times in the first half and scored 2 touchdowns, but Aaron Rodgers came out and lit it up. Aaron Jones, a phenomenal game. Just too much firepower for the Packers over the Lions.
All right, Andrew, I'm up. What's new? 18-14. You're 16-16. So I'm at 56%. You're at 50.
Hey, I gained some ground. This past week.
I had a tough week. I got a little brave on some games last week, I think. And we both got wrecked on some. I mean, either way, we're both doing way worse than we were last year. I think I was at like 96% at this point last year. So
not great for us this year.
It's not great. It's a tough start. So now I found the easier way to pick our games in the app. So we're going to do that. Let's start it out Thursday night, tomorrow night, Panthers, Texans at Texans. What do you got?
I'm going with the Panthers. Panthers have looked good to start the year. Our guys over at the 4-Man
One of
Rush,
8 undefeated teams.
Right. Guys over at the 4-Man Rush podcast. Shout out to them. They're happy for the Panthers. And Tyrod Taylor's not starting for the Texans. They're going to rookie Davis Mills out of Stanford. So I think the Panthers take it.
Yeah, poor Tyrod Taylor. Can't take it. Washington football team. I'm picking the Panthers as well. Sorry. Washington football team at the Bills. I was not impressed with the Washington football team last week. I'm not impressed with their defense yet. Granted, Danny Dimes played a hell of a game. The receivers stepped up last week. But if you're giving up that many points to the New York Giants, I don't trust you against Josh Allen and the Bills. The Bills are going to rampage against the Washington football team.
Yeah, I don't think Taylor Heineke is going to have a good game against this Bills defense. So I think the Bills win by quite a bit.
All right. Bears heading to see the Browns. Andrew.
I'm going Browns. Justin Fields getting his first start, but I think Baker Mayfield is going to be able to handle this Bears defense. I think there's going to be some growing pains for Justin Fields. And honestly, the Bears probably should have lost last week if Joe Burrow doesn't throw 3 interceptions to end the game. So I'm going Browns in this one.
Yeah, I'm with you. Browns. Ravens at Lions. I'm going Ravens.
Yeah, I think
some of these are too easy. You know,
that's a pretty easy one. The Ravens coming off a big win against Kansas City. I think they keep it rolling against Detroit.
I'm picking the Titans this week. I'm doing it. I'm putting it on paper. I'm breaking my own heart. I can't help it.
You know what? I'll put the Colts on paper since you put the Colts last week. I'll put
All right,
the Colts
that's
this
fair.
Week.
We'll do that. That's nice of you. Chargers are heading to Kansas City. The picks on Yahoo are not in the favor of the Chargers. And Vegas is also not. And add me to the list. Chiefs are going to win in Kansas City.
Chiefs, after they lose, they always play the next game very pissed off. And I don't think this is going to be any different, especially a divisional opponent. I think the Chiefs are going to dominate.
Hey, no bad beats with Brandon this week. Maybe I'll post something on Twitter and Instagram, but I'll give you one here. Take the Chiefs minus whatever amount of points they're put on. I'm really struggling with this next one, Andrew. I'll let you go first, and I'll see if you talk me into whatever team you pick. Saints at Patriots.
See, this one's a tough one because again, which Jameis Winston are you going to get? Are you going to get five TD famous Jameis against the Packers, or are you going to get famous Jameis against the Panthers, who was just trash, and then an even worse quarterback Taysom Hill had to come in the game? So, I think I'm going to go with the Saints, but not because of Jameis Winston. I think this Saints defense is going to give Mac Jones some issues because of how much pressure they put on. So against someone that isn't as mobile as like Sam Darnold, I think Mac Jones might struggle a little bit. So I'm gonna go Saints. This will be one of my wild picks, I guess, of the week.
You know what? I picked the Saints too, but I decided while you're still talking about Jameis Winston, I'm just thinking about that Saints defense against Mac Jones. I like that defense against Mac Jones more, and I'm real upset. I just thought of a question I should ask Tyler. I want to know what he thought about Peyton Manning's draft announcement for Bobby Okereke, because it was absolutely hilarious.
You mean Pat McAfee's? You said Peyton Manning.
I quit. I'm tired, man. Hey, listen, I got a lot going on. Okay, yeah, I'm a tired guy. I got a lot going on. I'm tired. I'm forgetting things. I did it with him on the show too, but I'm going to bed right after this. You guys are going to get a sloppy edit. Okay, I'm telling you right now. This one sucks. Yeah, no, it doesn't. Falcons at Giants. I'll take the Giants.
I'm taking the Giants. I'm never picking the Falcons again. Simple as that.
Bengals at Steelers.
I'm going Steelers. I mean, the Steelers haven't looked too bad. I mean, they didn't play great against the Raiders, but the Raiders look a lot better than I thought they did. And I just think the defense will be too much for Joe Burrow.
I thought it'd be fun to pick the Bengals, but in Pittsburgh after a loss, and yeah, can't go against Mike Tomlin himself. Steelers. Cardinals at Jacksonville. I think we're both going to pick the Cardinals.
I think so. Trevor Lawrence hasn't looked good so far. He's really struggled.
Definitely not looking like offensive rookie of the year.
Yeah, it looks like maybe Mac Jones is going to end up winning that. But yeah, Cardinals are rolling. I'm going with the Cardinals.
Did you say Justin Fields is getting the start this week?
Yes, Justin Fields.
Hammer the Browns. Hammer the Browns. However many points they give you, take it. You know what? Do an alternate spread. Take more points away from the Browns. Hammer the Browns. Justin Fields is going to throw 5 interceptions. Dolphins at Raiders. I don't know what's going on in Las Vegas, but I'm here for it. Derek Carr, let's go Raiders.
Yeah, I'm going Raiders as well. They look pretty good. And
did we skip the Broncos and Jets?
We did. We'll roll back to it. Okay. The Dolphins starting Jacoby Brissett. I mean, shout out Jacoby. I hope you have a good game, but I don't think the Dolphins are going to be able to pull it off.
What was it? It's somehow the Raiders all of a sudden look like they have a competent defense. I think I saw a headline. That's great. Jets at Broncos.
Yeah, Zach Wilson is nursing a groin injury. Teddy Two Gloves hasn't looked too bad, and that defense I think has looked pretty good as well. So, Zach Wilson going up against a good defense like the Broncos, he's going to struggle.
Buccaneers at LA Rams. Andrew, I'm going to go first. Listen, if the Rams are as good as we think they are, and as good as I'm saying they are, they got to win this football game. And in which case, I will be convinced we're just as good as the Super Bowl champs in Tampa Bay Buccaneers and old Tommy Brady. So go Rams.
I'm going the Bucs. The Bucs look great. They really do. I mean, Brady has 9 TDs already. It's just pretty insane. I don't think the Rams will be able to keep up with the Buccaneers. I think it's that.
Who'd the Bucs play last week?
The Falcons, I think.
And who did they play the week before that?
Dallas.
Okay.
Hey.
Seahawks and Vikings.
2-0 versus 0-2. You am I right? Seahawks.
Well, the Rams are 2-0 as well, and they played us and somebody not as good as us.
Bears.
But
I'm gonna go Seahawks. The Vikings. I mean, they've been close in both their games, but I think the Seahawks have too much talent.
Yep, I'm with you. Green Bay at San Fran. Go.
The public is on San Fran. I'm going Packers. Yeah. I think Aaron's not good in San Francisco, but I think Aaron's a little pissed. I really do. People talk bad. He looked good Monday night.
He looked good Monday night. I'm talking about him.
Oh,
he looks skinny. He looks a little weak in the knees. I don't know what's going on with him.
I mean, I just get that vibe listening to him on Pat's show that he's got an edge to him, and I think he's sick of people saying, oh, he doesn't care, oh, he's starting to go downhill. I think we're gonna get a very fired up Aaron Rodgers again against the 49ers I think that's a Sunday night game.
All right, Andrew, I'll ride with you. Packers.
Convinced you.
And then I'm taking Dallas hosting the Eagles.
I am as well. Dak Prescott and that Cowboys offense, I think, is just going to be too good for the Philadelphia defense.
What are you going to do for that tiebreaker? Just the first
one. So the score of the Eagles-Cowboys game, I'm going to go Cowboys 27, Eagles 17.
I got 14-28 Cowboys.
No field goals?
Not a field goal in the game. Not a single one. Kickers are going to be bored that night. I don't even think I want Zerline kicking a ball if I'm the Cowboys right now. A little concerned. All right. Is that it? We done?
I think that's it.
That's the show. Oh no, we have news around the league. Do we want to go through this? All the injuries real fast? Can I read them and you just, let me read them and we move it along?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay, Andrew. Can you tell? I'm tired. I'm ready to go to bed. I love you guys. I love you guys. And I know maybe you're listening to this in the morning when you're nice and fresh, but I'm not. Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, ribs out versus Raiders. Jacoby Brissett to start. Bears quarterback Andy Dalton sprained MCL out versus the Browns. Justin Fields to start. Tyrod Taylor out. Davis Mills to start. Eagles guard Brandon Brooks pec strain headed IR not season ending. Browns wide receiver Jarvis Landry placed on IR knee. Broncos offensive outside linebacker, defensive outside linebacker, one might say. Bradley Chubb, bone spur. Every time OLB's on there, I start to say offensive line, and I'm like, outside linebacker. Bone spur to have surgery, going on IR. NFL to what?
Well, I was just gonna say that. I mean, the biggest injury is just to Andy Dalton because Justin Fields is getting his first start. So you obviously think he's going to do terrible.
I do. And I hope the best for the kid. But I also hope I'm right because I like being right. I just really like being right. NFL is to host October Combine in London to scout international talent, create global exposure of American football. And you know what? That's some really cool stuff. I think honestly, that's awesome.
Yeah, I kind of like it. I mean, a lot of the international players, it's hard for them to really play organized football overseas. They either have to come to the United States. I know there's that European football league that the NFL is trying to start up, but it definitely gives them more exposure. And who knows, you might find a diamond in the rough.
You remember those European teams you could play in Madden? Is that still a thing? Can you still do that? I haven't tried in a long time.
I haven't bought a Madden game in like 4 years because it's a garbage game.
I don't play Madden. I don't like good football games.
Have 2K make a football game again, and I'll think about buying it.
No thanks. Not interested. Caesars Superdome roof catches fire on Tuesday. Yikes. Sounds not good.
There weren't looks like there weren't any major injuries. I think they were trying to clean the roof or power wash the roof. That's what I heard, and somehow it caught on fire, but it doesn't look like there was major damage done, so that's good news for the Saints and for everyone involved.
All right. Well, we sure do appreciate you guys. Don't forget to subscribe. You're here, you're watching, you're listening. Subscribe, hit the little bell, ding, ding, so you know when we're coming on. Go follow us on Twitter and Instagram at A Colts Podcast. Facebook, A Colts Podcast. Don't forget, we are the educated fans, and we know more than you. So,
Jesus.
I'm on one tonight, boys and girls.
Hey, one more time, though. Shout out to Tyler and the Titans Time podcast. I mean, fantastic guest. You'll probably see us on their show next time the Colts and the Titans play each other. But it was great to have him on, and it's going to be a good, fun divisional game on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm with you. Tyler's really cool. Enjoyed having him on. Hopefully they invite us on. I really appreciate that. But until next time, God bless you all. God bless football. Go Colts.
Go Colts.